Hi everybody, it's Kelly with Pookie and Belle, and today we're going to do another Letterman jacket, but this one has multiple patches. So we have 4 bar style patches to attach, and we have a state patch to attach, and I'll show you where we place these. They can go in different spots, but for this particular school I'll show you where they go, and we will get started. Let's go. Okay, so here is our jacket, and why this one's a little different, and I decided to show this to you, is we have already filled the sleeve with patches. So now we need to start another row, and that row is going to go right over the seam about an inch away. It'll go below the ear, and it'll just go right there, and we will start a whole nother row going all the way down the jacket. Okay, so I've got the patches with the double-sided tape on them, and now I've got them placed onto the jacket. I'll show you what that looks like. So they're just stuck on there lightly with the double-sided tape. So I'm going to send this picture over to the customer and just confirm the layout before we open up the jacket and stick those on. Okay, so we've confirmed with the customer that this is the correct placement and order of their patches. So now we're going to go ahead and open up the inside seam of the jacket. So from the armpit here, we'll stay about an inch away, and we're going to open the jacket up all the way right here, down this seam. To start, we're going to flip the sleeve inside out. You can see where the patches are from the other side of the jacket, and here's the seam. It's pretty easy to tell because it's been opened before, and that's the same seam that we want to open now. So we'll go ahead and do that. Then you get to the leather part of the jacket, and we're going to go ahead and open the stitching up here. Just need to open it up enough so that it's comfortable for you to get inside it and work with it to attach the patches. So right now, you can see when I open this up, I need to get all the way to here. I'm not going to open it up any further because I don't want to get into the arm seam of this jacket. So I'm just going to maneuver it under the actual needle to get it where I need to get it attached. This is when I do use the little piece of sticky back, because I am moving it around so much. I don't want that patch to shift once I start to sew it on. Putting 2 in because, as you can see, this patch is bigger and wider. So what I want to do is make sure I'm the correct distance away from the line of patches that is already on the jacket. If I line it up with this one, and then I go to put this one on, this patch is going to overlap the existing patches that are on the jacket. So I'm going to place this one in there first to kind of get an idea of where this one needs to be lined up correct. just lowering my needle down into the patch so that I can make sure I'm lined up and it's in the correct spot. Just trying to make sure, because of the difficult angle that we're at here, that I'm getting this patch lined up correctly and perfectly straight. Now, this patch is on inside of there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this back right side out. Check it before I continue, because it's going to be the gauge that I use when putting all the other patches in to make sure that it's straight. So it's always a good idea, especially on Letterman jackets, that you check and then double check and triple check. Okay. Okay, so there's our first patch and line there, and that is pretty straight. So now, this is what I was trying to explain, but probably not very well. See how this patch, if I would have lined it up here with this one, and then I went to center this one, it would have overlapped. Let me get this in frame for you. It would have overlapped these patches. So I wanted to put this one on first, then come back, center this one. And I've got the sticky tape on there, but when I flip it inside out, it's going to pull it off. So I'm just going to use a little T-pin here and help myself out and pin that in place. That way I know that that's the center for that patch. And I'll go ahead and line these up as well. When you start wrapping around the sleeve of these jackets, it gets a little more tricky putting them on, but the hardest part is just your first patch. Then the rest of them, they go pretty quick after that. But then I can see, because once you're in there with the seam, it all looks crooked. So it's a good idea to really kind of line everything up before you flip it inside out and put it under the machine. So we'll flip this back out. And we'll start with what's going to be the hardest one to reach, and tack the top one down. I just do a few stitches, then back tack. Whenever I stop, I always make sure that my needle is in the down position. Swivel the sleeve around. Make sure everything is tight underneath so you're not bunching up any of the jacket underneath here. Let me see if I can get you. If you can see here at all, try and lift it up. What I'm doing is when I pinned it, I was spacing it the same distance apart from this patch to this patch, the same as the other row of patches. They won't be lined up exactly. You can't expect that because the patch could be one of the skinny bars, it could be an activity patch, a sport patch. patches are attached there. Now what we're going to do before we sew this up is cut off all our threads on the inside here. Now they have a state patch as well, and the state patches for this jacket, back you up a bit here. They go on the back of the jacket, with them off on the far left side if they're a freshman, because where this one is, because there might be 4 of them to go across, maybe more if they're multi-sport. So what we're going to do is we're going to stretch out the binding here at the bottom of the jacket, and we take this state patch and we get it placed where it needs to go. Threads on the outside and the inside. And there's your state patch. Now, what we need to do is flip the sleeve back right side out. Clean up any threads that you can to get them out of there. You don't want to leave that. So what you want to do here is just double check, cut your threads, oops, cut your threads on the outside, make sure everything looks good, because you don't want to stitch up the sleeve and then have to flip it back out and fix it and cut it back open again. So you just look at it, make sure your patches all look straight, lined up, that looks good. Okay. So we're good to close her up. Now, I'm going to flip it back out. We're going to push the lining away as much as we can. And take, and where you can see these dots where it's getting a little stretched. Let's see that. Getting a little stretched where it's been stitched up before. We're going to go a little on the outside of that to hide that. So we're just going to line this up. Like I said, move that lining out of your way. Start way up high here to make sure nothing comes undone. Go ahead and sink our needle so it holds it for us. We're just going to move the lining as much out of our way as we can. Okay, so once you have this sewn up, and if you can kind of see what I did where this was really, the stitching was getting really rough and worn out, and you could see it on the other side, the finished side of the jacket. So what I did is I just stitched a little bit further in on the sleeve to close it up, so when we do flip it out, you're not going to see this on the outside of the jacket. So now that that's done, I just check the top and the bottom to make sure that I'm closed up all of the way and there's no openings. Clean anything up, pull any loose threads and stuff out, and now we'll close up the lining. I just get started and back stitch a little ways and then anchor my needle down into the material. So I can then just kind of pull this taut and fold my edges under, tuck everything in, and just run a bead right down the edge here. When you need to readjust, just anchor your needle again. Otherwise the slippery fabric just kind of pulls right out from underneath the foot. Pull that out and snip any loose threads that you have hanging out. Okay, and once that's done, let me zoom you out here a little bit. Okay. Then we can flip the sleeve right side out. And we can check and make sure, now that that's closed up and we're not seeing any of those stitch marks where it was just getting worn from opening the jacket up over and over and over again to apply patches every year. And if you have any little threads poking through that you didn't get cleaned up on the other side very well, just snip those out. And that's it. So everything's closed up, all of the patches are on, got the state patch on the back, and this jacket's ready to go.